Hey horror fans, welcome back to Room 237. Come at you with another horror movie review. Probably my last review for the night. It's getting pretty late. But my last video was Lucio Fulci's The Beyond. So still I got a bunch more Italian films to watch. I decided to revisit my favorite Lucio Fulci film, Zombi. This movie's an absolute classic. I love this movie to death. Excuse me. Now, I'm just gonna get the confusing shit out of the way right off the bat. Because this has a ton of names. Over here, it's called Zombie, Z-O-M-B-I-E. Over in Italy, it's called Zombie 2, Z-O-M-B-I. Because I guess Dario Argento, I think, produced George Romero's Dawn of the Dead. And he edited a version for Italy, and that was called Zombi, Z-O-M-B-I. So this unofficial sequel was released called Zombie 2. In Britain, it was called Zombie Flesh Eaters. And let's see if I can pull up the rest here. Probably should have done this first. Alright, so Zombie Flesh Eaters was in Europe, other places around the world. Sanguella, The Island of the Living Dead, Zombie the Dead Walk Among Us, Gli Ultimi Zombie, Voodoo, L'Enfer des Zombies, I guess, Zombie 2 The Dead Are Among Us, and Nightmare Island. But over here we have Zombie, then the rest of the series of unrelated sequels, it just goes Zombie 3, 4, and 5. It's like they said, fuck it, it's going to get more confusing, just call them what they are. So over here, it's just called Zombie. Good enough. It's all it needs to be called. Great zombie film. I would put this in my top 5. Because 20 Days Later, yes, I consider it a zombie film. Don't be an asshole. That's my number 1. Then Night of the Living Dead. Then Dawn of the Dead. Then I'm not really sure. Probably Day of the Dead. But I love this movie. I love Peter Jackson's Dead Alive. A bunch of other ones. This would probably be in my top 5. Great movie. Now, again, this has nothing to do with Dawn of the Dead. It's an unofficial sequel. All this is, and the story is a lot more straightforward than Lucio Fulci's The Beyond. This movie opens up with there's someone on a boat that's saying the guy has a gun. He's like, the boat is ready. Tell the crew. Shoots the guy in the head, or shoots the guy in the head. Then says that the boat then drifts to New York. Coast Guard sees it. You get on board. There's a big fat zombie. One guy's killed. Send the zombie away to get tested. And this girl, I think her name is Anne. Yeah, Anne, played by Tisa Farrow. I don't know who any of these actors are. They're all Italian. Well, not all of them, but the girl that played Anne, I thought she looked like Julie Haggerty from Airplane, so that was kind of funny. She claimed she hadn't seen the boat in a while, but she recognized it as her father's boat. So then she meets up with this journalist or this reporter who wants to get the story about the sick guy on the boat. They kind of do some investigating. They find out this boat must have gone to, then come from this island, Matul. So they meet up with this other guy and his girlfriend, and they take a boat out there. Now on this island, there's this doctor, Dr. Menard, who on this, pretty much closed off from society island, the natives are getting sick. And he's a man of science, he's trying to cure them, but whenever they die from this illness, they come back as flesh-eating zombies. Now, in Romero's films, it's sort of hinted that it might be something biological. Here they don't say that. It's heavily implied that it deals with voodoo. But they don't come right out and say voodoo's causing the shit. But, you know, it's an unofficial sequel. It, you know, it's different. It takes place on an island. If voodoo's the case, I'll buy it. I'll go with it. I've seen worse. I've even seen better done worse. So, and I mean, it's an hour and a half. It's really like the last half hour, 45 minutes that is really zombie stuff. You get a couple scenes before then, but it's really just getting out to the island. And even on their way to the island, there's a great scene, which the first time I saw it, I think I was about 19. I think I was 19 first time I saw this. The guy that is driving the boat, his girlfriend wants to go diving and take some photos. And of course, she goes down topless because it's an Italian movie. You gotta have a naked woman in there somewhere. She goes down, and then there's, I think it's like a nurse shark. So there's the dangers, the nurse shark. But then there's a zombie down there. She fights the zombie, but then the zombie starts fighting the shark. And I mean, the zombie and the shark go at it. So, thank God they got to it before sci-fi did, because they would have made a whole stupid fucking movie out of that. But, you know, I really like the makeup. You know, they always say, like, water or whatever will fuck up latex. And the zombie that's down in the water, I mean, the latex is kind of flapping around, but it kind of gives it a good effect. Really makes it look like, and like his hands look really thick and soggy, like gloves that are kind of floating away. I think it gave off a decent effect. And I mean, the zombie's taking chunks out of the shark, and then when the shark bites the arm, it's just all this like green blood going through the water. Great sound effects. And the sound effects in this are over the top. Crunching sounds, and every time there's like blood gushing, the sound effect is like the sound guy has like 2 cups of water he's pouring into each other. It's over the top, but it works out. Dr. Menard's wife has a very memorable death. She gets out of the bath or shower. Because now zombies are just starting to take over the island. And she's in her bedroom in like a bathrobe. And it's like one of those like blind doors, like doors that like you can adjust the blinds on it, like a closet door. Zombie breaks through it, like grabs hold of her head, and the camera keeps like, my fingers are like a shard of wood, keeps going like this, and like it shows her going towards it. And then it gets right up close, and it's a long, slow scene of different angles going toward, like her eye going towards it. And it just punctures the fuck out of her eye. So then they get to the island, and I mean, the first thing they see is they go to that house, and they just see a bunch of like 4 or 5 zombies just eating her corpse. And the gore in this movie is probably the best out of any Fulci film. I mean, she's been there, all night, zombies just eating her. I mean, she's all opened up. The intestines and organs look phenomenal. I like how the zombies sort of look like they're in a daze, like they're just like slowly picking at her. And the look of the zombies, though, are phenomenal. This is the best looking one, this guy here. And he's really only in like this scene. They look like rotting, decayed corpses. Like, it doesn't look like latex at all. I mean, when your body goes into putrefaction, I mean, like, your ears will, like, rot away, your nose. I mean, it's all, like, black and discolored. Like, it looks like it all sunken in. It's kind of hard to explain. If you ever seen pictures of, like, a putrefied zombie, cadaver, like advanced stages of putrefaction, that's what these zombies look like. The makeup is phenomenal. When this guy comes out of the ground, it is an oh shit moment, and it looks awesome. Like, that's actually like a little smirk he does. He does like a like, and like he goes down, he bites a girl in the throat. You see the stretching of the latex, and then like fountains of blood coming out. And then it's pretty much just survival for like the last half hour. We have, our three, because the girl that went diving, she's the one that got bitten by this guy. Spoiler alert. Because there's a twist at the end too, so spoilers. A pretty good twist. And yeah, it's all just survival. Like, trying to, like, they're in a Jeep gets broke down, they just gotta get from one place to the other and try to find a way to get back to the boat, try to get back to the mainland. One thing I was gonna mention, because again, not much of a story. They're just trying to get to an island where there's a bunch of sick people. She wants to find her dad, and by the time they get there, it's a zombie outbreak. There's your story. When we see like the whole, I guess, a medical barn, kind of like a MASH tent, but it's a barn. It's like you hear all the people coughing and moaning in sickness, and it's out in like a jungle, tropical type island, and they make it look very warm, and there's no music. The only sound effect is like flies buzzing. It's like you can almost smell like foul. Like you're watching that scene, just imagine the heat, hearing the flies, knowing that's a room full of really sick, dying people. You almost get like a rotten, like, that's the definition of atmospheric. Like you watch John Carpenter's The Thing or The Shining, you feel cold. You watch this, you smell rotten shit. Whether the people are dying or they're already dead. Like, you can almost smell these zombies. Like, you can almost smell the rotten corpses. Or when the people are dying of the illness, in rows of beds, and you just hear the flies buzzing, you can almost smell like a rotten hospital. And pretty much the finale is just them, our survivors, at that barn. They're throwing Molotovs and shooting zombies. Oh, this zombie, after he bites that one girl in the neck, her boyfriend like shoots him, but then like the lead guy, the reporter, he picks up, because it's like beach, more sand, woods, and then there's like crosses. It's like a little shitty graveyard that time forgot about. He picks up like this, it looks like wood, might not be, this crucifix, like headstone, and they shoot the zombie down. He hits him in the head, like here, and it perfectly cuts the skull completely open, and it looks like chili. Like, it's Italian, so blood is gonna look like red paint, like that color red, but like chunky, like chili, like it's all goopy. Like that's what the brains look, and you hear like the watery sound effects when it comes. Fantastic effect. Like, yeah, and also if you look at his eye, those are real worms. Because during that scene, they're all on the beach by like the cemetery, and you see like the dirt rising. Like they actually buried people to an extent so they could rise out of the ground. And a few of these zombies actually have live worms in their eyes. They're like wiggling around. I thought that was a great effect. That looked awesome. And like, yeah, that's when the guy's wife, can't really see that, it's kind of blurry, but just great gore effects. He hits him right in the head, and it just comes right open, just smashes open like pottery. And then so then really we're getting up to the survival. Just the barn, they're shooting them all, and there's a couple people that already like the medical staff who are left, like this big fat guy and this skinny girl. They're making Molotovs, and some of the dead people that, because the doctor's been going around shooting dead people, the dead patients, so they can't rise. Forgot about these ones. So they're pouring gasoline into bottles, and the big fat guy gets a huge deep chunk of his arm bitten off. And there's like no cuts in the film, so it's like the zombie bites, and then he turns and he just has a mouth full of, I'm assuming latex or meat, but like it's very visceral. And it looks awesome. Like, probably some of the best effects in a zombie movie. I'll say that. These effects they're more, might not be in as abundance as Dawn of the Dead. But it's definitely gorier than Dawn of the Dead. I do feel safe in saying that. I would say I like Dawn of the Dead better as a movie, but I think this one's definitely gorier. But I mean, so then our 3 survivors, they get on a boat, they go back. One guy actually gets sick. And so, the lead girl and the reporter guy, they're talking about going home where everything's normal. But then we cut back to the city, and it's revealed that the zombie from the beginning, the fat one on the boat in the very beginning, when they brought him back to testing, the whole time we've been on the island, shit's been going wrong in the city. So when they showed the city, there's just zombies walking all around the city. There's been their own outbreak going on there. And every time I watch this, I forget about that, because it's only like, it's like 1 minute long. It's at the very tail end, so I always forget everything I watch it. I'm like, oh shit, it's gonna suck for them when they get back. That's a good twist. See, it's not a Shyamalan twist because it doesn't ruin the fucking movie. It's just more like, oh, there's more movie to this. That nice twist. That's a good ending. But I love this movie to death. I'm just gonna keep saying that. Just all the gore effects, the zombies. These are probably my favorite looking zombies. I know I'm still more partial to the 28 Days Later infected zombies. Always have been, probably always will be. But as far as just undead corpses coming back zombies, you can't beat this. I mean, that looks like a fucking corpse. You go on like Google Images, or better yet, just watch the fucking movie, and you'll see what I mean. Especially the beach scene. You watch the beach scene, or like the beach cemetery scene, when they're coming out of the ground. That is what rotting corpses coming out of the ground would look like. And this is just definitely one of the best Italian horror films ever made, I think, also. And of all the Italian films I have, maybe next to Cannibal Holocaust, this is the one I've seen the most. And definitely my favorite Fulci film. I love Zombie to death. Not enough people talk about it. I know it's like a cult hit. Die-hard horror fans love it, but most people don't talk about this, and I think it sucks. I love Zombie. Like, again, more proof why practical effects will always rule. Even if it's over the top and unrealistic like this, it looks amazing. But Lucio Fulci's Zombie, I fucking love this movie to death. Great zombie movie, great Italian horror. But for Room 237, I'm out, and good night.